Hello everyone, this is Jack the Rambling Raconteur, and I'm here with the Pi Day book tag. So 3.14, March 14th, 3.14 is an approximation of pi, Pi Day, Pi, the Greek letter. Originally created by Literature Science Alliance, which is a great channel name, and then I was tagged by Big Hard Books and Classics. I'll link those below. Question 1, pi is an irrational number. Name an irrational character. Pretty much everybody in this book. Achilles, Hector, Agamemnon, Aias, everybody. Zeus. They're all irrational in this book. But humans are irrational, so that's okay. Question 2. Pi comes from the word perimitro, meaning perimeter. So it is a ratio around the circumference of a circle related to the diameter, and pi is the ratio that's constant. Name a book about borders. So the one that came to mind, so I was just up at the northern Arizona and southern Utah, where there is the geological grand staircase, where you basically have layers of rock on Earth that have pushed up and been exposed. So you have layers sitting like this, and from a high enough viewpoint you can see the different layers. I'll even put like the book in, and so you see these different layers like this, and you have like the chocolate cliffs and the vermilion cliffs and the white cliffs, and on and on up to the pink cliffs, which are the most recent rocks, and that's where Bryce Canyon is. But in northern Arizona you can actually look across the Colorado Plateau and see all of those different layers. And so when I think of geological border, I think of it's a slim book about 200 pages called Times Arrow Times Cycle by Stephen Jay Gould, in which he discusses three writers who from much earlier generations who theorized around the concept of uniformitarianism in geology, and kind of helped shape our understanding of geology, even when like Burnett has ideas that are probably incorrect, Hutton has some that are correct, and then Lyle really builds on all of those. But it's an incredibly well-written book, as everything is by Stephen Jay Gould, about a concept that a lot of us don't think about. And so there's a connection for me. In terms of more like geopolitical borders, probably The Spy Who Came In From the Cold by John le Carré, with, of course, the great climax at the Berlin Wall. Question 3. Pi is a constant. So it's a constant ratio, again, relating the circumference of a circle to its diameter. What is a comforting book that is constant in your life? So I grabbed two. The obvious one for me would be the Bible, but the other one that jumps out, one I've probably read consistently. I know I talked about Watership Down in a different video, but another one that I come back to and reread pretty consistently would be the Canterbury Tales of Chaucer. Some of them make me laugh. So the Miller's Tale, the Wife of Bath's Prologue, they make me laugh so hard. The Partner's Tale scares the living daylights out of me still. The Knight's Tale is really bizarre, and so I love the Canterbury Tales. I love all the books that make me think of the Canterbury Tales. Hyperion by Dan Simmons. When I read the Arabian Nights, I realized how Chaucer used some of those tales, and I love that book. Question 4. Pi has infinite decimal places. Call out a series you feel may never end. So the simple one is Nevada Barr writes a mystery series that are set in like national parks and national monuments, with a national park ranger named Anna Pigeon, who is a trained like homicide detective from New York City, who wants to leave and get away from urban areas, and so she ends up working in national parks, and they're really well written. They're really fascinating. Nevada Barr is still alive and has not, although she hasn't written one of these books in like 3 years. I've really enjoyed them. My wife really enjoys them. I think they're good. Track of the Cat, the first one, is a great, quick read. Highly recommend it. But I would hope maybe this mystery series will never end. I don't know. The other one, though, that I'll jokingly say I hope will never end would, of course, be the Viking Portable. So I grabbed 3 different eras. So this is like a very old paperback. I think this volume is from like the 1950s. A portable Maupassant. This is then what they started to look like when Penguin took over the line. So I think this is a volume from maybe the 1970s. Kipling, maybe the 80s. And then in the 90s, they started putting out these ridiculous, and silly trade paperbacks that you see. This is a portable Western reader. But I love these books. I've got an entire shelf right along here that you can't see because it's on the other wall of the Viking Portables. I've got another shelf in our guest room that is half full of them. I love that series. I adore them. And I would hope that somehow, in some way, Penguin continue. Now they do some, like, their Penguin Classics Black Spine trade paperback versions. And I would hope that maybe they'll continue to release some, periodically, even if it's one every 4 years. It's a great series. It's helped be a gateway for me to read a lot of wonderful things. Question 5. What is your favorite pie? And then name a book that embodies that pie. So if you've ever driven from Phoenix north towards like Prescott or Flagstaff, the Grand Canyon, Utah, or up to I-40 to go like east, or you've been driving down from northern Arizona towards Phoenix, right at the Maricopa and Yavapai County line, there is a small place called Rock Springs Cafe, and they make the best pies in the world. And I will thumb wrestle anybody who disagrees. But they make a particularly good pecan pie called the JD Pecan Pie. They use Jack Daniel's Tennessee whiskey in creating the pecan sweet molasses filling. It is delicious. It is the best. Now, the person who turned me on to Rock Springs Cafe was, of course, my father. And so whenever we would drive from Phoenix up to visit his aunt and uncle who had a wonderful house up in Prescott, and we would maybe spend a day there in the cool air, or spend even like a weekend there over spring break or something, or if he had a job up north, every time on our way home, we would stop and get one, and he would often get one for his parents, and then one for our family. Or on our way up, we might pick one up and then, have it with my great aunt and uncle. And so I grew up going to this place. Fantastic. I had many of their pies. JD Pecan's the best, but they're all good. Anyways, that's a long story to explain why I'm picking Tony Hillerman's Skinwalkers. So my father loved the Tony Hillerman novels. These ones are set, many of them are set in northern Arizona, even farther north than Flagstaff, on the Colorado Plateau, on the Navajo tribal lands. So because these were books my dad loved, and that is a pie cafe that my dad turned me on to, even though he passed away 17 years ago, I still read his books. I still eat those pies. And so when I get that pie, one of the things I always think of is my dad. And whenever I read these, one of the things I always think of is him. And so that's kind of the full connection. So again, full connection, full circle. Thank you, BookTube.